Okay, so first off, this video is not about throwing shade at guitar players that are learning bass. If you are a guitar player that's trying to get more confident on bass, I applaud you. I think that's awesome. That's cool and brave of you to try and learn a new thing and get out of your comfort zone. So good on you. This video is more about pointing out some of the common things that bass players notice when we see guitar players trying to play bass. So don't take it personal, but if I were you, I'd want to know. So today I'm going to talk about 5 of the things that I notice when I see somebody that's clearly a guitar player trying to fill on a bass gig. Okay, so first up is only playing bass with a pick. Now, don't hear me wrong. I think that playing bass with a pick is actually a very important thing and something that I think bass players, we need to do a better job of being able to do it because there's a lot of bass players that can't. I think it's important that bass players should be able to excel both with a pick and with fingerstyle. And if you're a guitar player that's coming into bass and you're just playing with a pick, it's time to start practicing with your fingers. So first one, you need to be able to play both with your fingers and with a pick. The second thing that I notice is not muting your strings. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you're playing one note on the bass, making sure that the other strings that you're not playing aren't ringing out. This can cause a really big problem for bass because if you're playing on stage with subwoofers or big amplifiers, it can make the music sound really muddy really fast, and it can make the foundation of the music, the bass note, be unclear, which is the last thing that you want. The way you accomplish this is a combination of your left and right hand technique. So you're using your fingers to sort of dampen the strings that you aren't playing. I'm going to post one of those things up here with a video where I explain a little more in detail how to do that. But I do think it's something that you need to start thinking about, being intentional about, because if you can accomplish this, it's really going to tighten up your playing and it's going to make you sound more like a bass player. The third thing that I notice when I see a guitar player playing bass is maybe they're not really listening to the drummer. It's almost like a partnership. The way I see drums and bass is it's almost like one instrument together. And what you play and what the drummer is playing, you should influence each other and you should gel together and you should lock together. So locking with the drummer is a huge part of playing bass. Watch the drummer and watch their feet. Watch their kick drum pattern and watch their hi-hat pattern. The hi-hat is going to give you the precision of the time. The kick drum is going to give you the heartbeat. And you need to lock with that heartbeat. So I'm not saying you have to play exactly what the kick drum's playing, but you certainly need to be aware of what they're doing. And if you can start to listen to the drummer and start to let what the drummer's doing influence your ideas and the way you're responding to the music, it's going to start to feel more musical for everybody. It's going to feel better for the band. And it's a really cool thing. It's one of the coolest things about playing bass, in my opinion, is playing with a great drummer. Because when you really lock with a great drummer, it just feels great and it's super fun. So you can't do that if you're not listening to them. So I'd encourage you to really start listening to your drummer friends. Okay, fourth thing that I notice is maybe playing things that are too complicated. I'm not saying you can't play complicated things on bass. There's examples of that being really amazing and musical. But I do think, in general, playing simpler things on the bass serves the music really well. It leaves space for other people. It leaves space for the groove. And I think usually it's the solution. I'm talking about my experience playing bass for my living in bands, where playing solos isn't a part of the experience for people. And I found that usually the simpler ideas are the ones that work better for the sake of the music, for the sake of the dance floor, for the sake of the songwriter, for the sake of the way everything fits together. And there's a time and place maybe to step out a little bit, but I think good bass players know when to do that and when not to. And I think more often than not, it's the latter. So I know some of you might disagree with me, and that's okay, but that's my opinion. I think playing simpler is going to set you apart as a really respected bass player, and I think it's going to serve the music well. And a fifth way that I notice guitar players trying to play bass is not getting a big sound. And by big sound, I mean not loud, I mean rich and full and consistent. I mean something that's not thin, but something where you're getting a nice fat note that lasts without a lot of fret buzz and rattle. I mean something that can be the anchor for the music. And it might have something to do with your equipment, but it probably has more to do with your fingers and how you're striking the strings and how you're holding the strings. Your left and your right hand working together. If you already learned guitar, you can do this. It's just different. It's a different technique. And it's going to take some time to fine tune some of the mechanics and the fine motor skills. Okay? So you can totally do it. You just got to take the time to do it. So to my guitar player friends, this is not about trying to make you feel bad. This is just me as a friend letting you know some of the things that bass players notice when you pick up the instrument. Props to you for being here and for wanting to learn. You're very welcome here. Everybody be cool in the comment section because I think guitar players are awesome. What are some things that I didn't say, bass players? What are some things you notice when you spot a guitar player playing bass? If you want to go deeper into some of this stuff, I do have a bass course where we go much deeper in some of the fundamentals of bass playing. I'll put a link to that in the description. I think it is a helpful resource for bass players that are learning. And I do try to post videos every week, at least one a week. So if you enjoyed this one, please consider subscribing because that would help me out a bunch. And I'll see you on the next video.